Welcome back to the Tool Crib. Today we're going to be talking about the TiRant Razor V2 from Exceed Designs. This is a phenomenally good product. One that I've had my eye on for a little while now. Finally pulled the trigger on it a couple months ago. I've been waiting a very long time for this to arrive. Finally got my hands on it about 5 days ago. I've had the chance to use it for a little while now, and it's one of those rare products that I had high expectations for, but once I got it, once I used it, it actually exceeded my expectations, and that is a very rare thing. Let's get into the TiRant Razor V2. Now, before we get into the specs of this utility folder, I wanted to show you some of the stuff that extra that comes with the TiRant Razor V2. So first of all, you get 10 spare blades that come in a small package here. You get a spare pivot pin. You get a spare lock pin. You also get 4 additional fasteners, replacement fasteners for this, as well as the wrench in order to disassemble and put this one back together. And it comes with a spare lock bar insert with the press detent, ball detent in there. And then for those that like, you can actually switch out the back here from the lanyard ring or lanyard holder into a small pry tool fitting for the end of this. Now, this is something that I don't think I'm going to be doing. I actually like the configuration the way it comes. Now, one thing I will say about this is that if you do have or do end up getting one of these and you want to switch in for that pry tool that goes on the end, it's important to note that you're going to want to heat up the screws before trying to disassemble this, because otherwise you run the risk of stripping out the screws. So you want to heat that up to loosen up the Loctite on it before attempting that. So I apologize, I don't have my scale with me. I'm on the road, so I really can't give you the overall weight and everything on this one. But fear not, this is one of those products that's going to be featured here more than once. And when I do get back home and have the opportunity, I'll get you all that information. I can give you the overall dimensions of this one, though. So this one in the closed position is about 3 5/8 of an inch long. It's roughly 7/8 of an inch wide. And what's really nice about this is the thickness on this one comes in at right under 11/16 of an inch. So it's very thin in profile overall. Now, the open length on this one is right at 6 1/8 overall with this attachment on it. So let's talk a little bit about the construction of this one. First of all, this is a frame lock titanium frame. It's very, very well put together. It also includes ball bearings for this one. It's going to be a flipper design, which is going to make it incredibly smooth, and that's one of the things that I very much like about this particular knife. I love the fact that it's a flipper. I love the fact that it's a frame lock, and I absolutely love the fact that it's utilizing ball bearings. It makes for a very pleasant experience to use this particular knife. Now, the frame lock on here locks up, I get about 50%. For that frame lock, and when it locks in place, there is virtually no movement whatsoever in this in the blade holder itself. So it is very, very well constructed. Now, if I had one criticism about this, it would be in the blade exchange mechanism. So the blade exchange comes into 2 pieces. It has the front plate here, and then it has the back plate, which are screwed together by 2 screws. And you'll notice on the back plate that it has a relief cut in here. So that relief cut has the where it will engage with the notches on your utility blade. Now, I have found it easier on this one. Normally what you would do is you just kind of press over. This is my one criticism of this, and it's kind of twofold. It's both an advantage and a disadvantage, and I'll explain why. So the tolerance on here is extremely tight, and so it's a little tough to push over. So normally I would just press against it with my thumb, and I can still do it like that, but you have to give it quite a bit of force. So it's not the easiest thing in the world to switch out the blades. But what I have found is if you grab onto the frame, and I'll just use my forefinger and press against there, then I can get a little bit more leverage, and it's a little easier to pull that blade and exchange it out. Now, I will say that thicker blades on this may not, and I haven't had the chance to test them yet, may be a little bit tight for this one. If you're using more standardized blades, I think they'll fit a little better. You'll hear how that locked into place too. It gives a really positive lock for that utility knife to fit in there. Now, you do have an ever so slight movement on the blade itself if you force it. And I'm talking like it can't be but half a millimeter max. If you're just moving it, you get zero rattle out of this knife. It is incredibly tight tolerances. Now, the one thing that this might be lacking that's a lot of people look for is the fact that it doesn't have any place to do an on blade or on knife blade storage. So you can't carry a spare blade with this one. Maybe we'll see something like that in version 3 of this particular knife. So this particular one is in the titanium stonewash finish, which is going to wear in incredibly well. I really like titanium stuff. It just, especially stonewash, because it just wears so nicely. The action on this is one of the things that I love the most, though. Those ball bearings make this an incredible. Basically, what this is a more mid-range knife. Like your $100, $125, $130 folding knife, but in a utility knife form. And it is really a pleasure to use this one. The user experience with this one, but aside from the fact that the action is so incredibly smooth, there's a couple other things. So first of all, the clip on here is a very deep carry pocket clip, and with these utility knives, a lot of times they'll go overboard on different models. Either you'll get a really wide or a clip that stands out way far from the frame of the knife, or you get like a wire frame. Oftentimes they're very, very bulky. This one, though, is considered more for an EDC item, for both work and away from work, as opposed to something like the Milwaukee fastback versions, where those are going to be more of a construction knife. And utility knife is something that we use a lot on the construction site because of the fact that you're getting packages in, and the materials that we cut, from rubbers to twined ropes and tape and just anything you can think of, where you don't necessarily want to use a high-end folder. You don't want to, even a multi-tool blade. I kind of cringe at using my surge blade on some of the stuff that I have to cut through. And so this is where utility knives come in, and they're a very important part of EDC, especially for blue-collar workers and for most people in general, depending on what type of work that you do. This one is really nice for this. Now, there are a lot of different versions of utility blade holders that are very small. You have the slide versions. In fact, Exceed Designs has their own with the TiRant Razor M, which is a really minimalist knife. I, however, particularly like folders where when I go to open them up, especially this one, with that overall length, I just get a lot of control with this one, and it fills my hand up, and I feel confident using it. Wherein with some of those other smaller versions, you're really choked up. And while they do the job, and for a lot of people, that's going to be the ticket, this is more of my style. I love how this thing carries. I love being able to pull it out of the pocket. The action is so smooth, and it is immediately ready for use. I really cannot praise this particular product enough. I just love this whole concept, the titanium, the ball bearings, the whole works on this. I love this knife. Now, another thing that I want to talk about is how well manufactured this is. So if we look on the edges of this thing, you'll notice that these things are milled in there very, very nicely. There are no sharp edges. That includes on the flipper, on the frame itself, on the two end pieces, whether that be the lanyard or the pry tool. They have a very nice chamfer on them. There are zero hot spots. Now, why that's important to me is because I carry my wallet in my front pocket. And part of the reason why I haven't been able to find the right folder for me is because when I'm reaching for my wallet, and especially this is especially true of like G10 handles, where the back of my hand, as I reach into my pocket, the back of my hand is running against the knife, and it's not that it's just a little irritating, and I just don't like the feel of it. This one, however, because of its thin profile, because of those very smooth chamfered edges, it's not that I don't notice it when I reach in my front pocket for my wallet. It's that I don't mind bumping against this one because it doesn't take up very much pocket space and it is incredibly smooth. No hot spots whatsoever, no sharp edges. Now, for the longest time, I carried the Gerber EAB Lite, and that's a very good utility blade holder, but it does have some sharp corners to it. Not the type of sharp corners that are going to cut you, it's just a little uncomfortable. This one has a much more refined feel to it, and this is one of those products that really exceeded my expectations of it. And having the opportunity to use it now for the last 4 or 5 days, I have decided that this is going into my EDC, both at work and away from work. This is one of those products that I like so much and is so valuable to me in so many different situations that this is going to go into my full-time EDC. I love everything about this knife. Again, 2 criticisms that you might have. The blade exchanges can be a little bit tough to switch out the blades, and I still need to try it with some thicker blades, especially the Linux blades that I like to use, and the fact that it doesn't have onboard storage for an extra blade. Apart from that, this is definitely one of the best flippers that I've ever, or utility folding utility knives that I have ever used in my life. And I really can't praise this enough, and I can't recommend it enough. This comes with my absolute highest recommendation. Now, price on this is going to run about $60. And for a lot of people, that's going to be exorbitant. It's going to be way overpriced for something that they can go get for $10, $12, $15, or $20. You can get a lot of decent folders for utility blades, but they're not going to come with this quality. I think that this one is worth every penny of the $60. And if they come up with an even better design for this one in the future where they might have onboard storage, I'll probably jump on that one right away. I really can't recommend this one enough. This is the TiRant Razor V2 from Exceed Designs. I'm going to have links down below to their Amazon store. This comes in the stonewash finish. It also comes in black. I'll also leave a couple of links to some of their other products as well. My name is Ben. You've been watching the Texas Tool Crib. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you in the next one.